From our studio in Georgetown, this is the TV Delmarva Channel 14 News at 4.
Good day, Delmarva. Reporter Rob Petrie here for TV Delmarva Channel 14 News. Straight ahead, state fire officials are investigating the cause of a blaze that destroyed 3 homes and caused more than $1 million in damages over the weekend in Dewey Beach. A 29-year-old man has been hospitalized after he was shot in both legs outside Irish Mik's bar in Dover. And a 17-year-old has died following a serious crash in Lewes. These stories and more coming up, but weather first with Hunter Alton.
Well, good Monday afternoon, Delmarva. I hope everyone enjoyed their holiday weekend. We had some fairly nice conditions for Easter Sunday, but a little bit different story as the start of the work week. Taking a live look outside of North Ocean City, Maryland. You can see we have a lot of shaking on the camera with that onshore flow with some pretty gusty winds, some very gray, dull skies, and we're patiently awaiting the upcoming rainfall that is expecting to move into the region tonight. Currently, 50 degrees in North Ocean City. Take a look at some satellite and radar. You can see the wider picture here. We have 2 different areas of low pressure over across the eastern portions of the United States. One near Utica, Ohio, and a coastal low that's developing near Wilmington, North Carolina. Now, that coastal low is going to be the one that's going to take over during the overnight hours tonight and begin to intensify and move across the areas of Delmarva tonight, bringing rounds of heavy rainfall and as well as some gusty winds and the threat for some coastal flooding. Now, we do have several weather hazards we need to talk about. First off, areas in this brown color, including Kent, Sussex, Wycomico, Somerset, Worcester, Accomack, and Northampton counties, you're under a wind advisory beginning 8 o'clock tonight to 1 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. A fairly short duration advisory for the potential of seeing some winds 20 to 30 miles per hour sustained with some gusts as high as 40 and maybe even 50 miles an hour right along the immediate coast once this coastal low starts to get its act together tonight. And we also do have some coastal flood products to talk about. Areas in this lime green color in Newcastle, Maryland beaches, Accomack, and Northampton counties, you're under a coastal flood advisory tonight for the potential of seeing some minor coastal flooding with the larger swell and the onshore winds. But areas in Kent, in Sussex County, in that darker green, you're under a coastal flood warning for the potential of seeing 1 to 2 foot inundation with a high tide just after midnight tonight that may cause some minor to even moderate coastal flooding in the most flood-prone areas here in the inland bays on Delmarva, especially in Sussex County for sure. Areas of Oak Orchard, Massey's Landing, Long Neck area, and as well as downtown Lewes had the best shot of seeing some of that moderate coastal flooding tonight. Now, we've been seeing some fairly cool temperatures across the region today. Only right now 51 here in Georgetown, 52 in Salisbury, 51 in Pocomoke City, 52 for Easton, 49 in Centerville, 50 degrees for Dover and Wilmington, and currently 49 up north in Newark. We've been seeing some dry air mixing in with this coastal storm. Humidity values have only been in the 60% range. That's why we haven't been seeing any rainfall at this time. But we're starting to see some rain falling down in the southern tip of Delmarva, but that will change in the next couple of hours once that coastal low edges closer to the central portions of Delmarva. We've been seeing some fairly gusty winds as well. Take a look at current sustained winds in the region, generally between 10 and 20 miles an hour sustained from the east, but we're seeing well over 20 miles per hour, especially in Cape Charles, sustained at 26 at this hour. And wind gusts, pretty much everywhere here on the shore is seeing wind gusts anywhere between 20 and 30 miles per hour, but we're seeing some stronger wind gusts in areas of Cape Charles, currently gusting to 36 miles per hour from the east. Now, we are going to be continuing with the rain tonight. Some of that's going to be heavy at times. Going to be looking at some breezy conditions as well, and also the threat for some coastal flooding. But I'll break down on what you can expect tonight with this coastal storm in just a little bit.
State fire officials are investigating the cause of a blaze that destroyed 3 homes and caused more than $1 million in damages over the weekend in Dewey Beach. The blaze broke out just after 3 a.m. Saturday as fire crews were called to reports of a large-scale fire in the 1900 block of Bayard Avenue. The Rehoboth Beach Volunteer Fire Company arrived on the scene to find a multi-story home completely engulfed in flames. At least 3 other homes were heavily damaged, 3 in total, causing over $1 million in damage. Thankfully, no one was injured. First responders were on hand and were able to drag at least 6 people who were asleep at the time out of one of the homes, saving their lives. The State Fire Marshal's office is investigating the cause of the fire. A 29-year-old man has been hospitalized after he was shot in both legs outside Irish Mik's bar in Dover. According to Dover police, shortly before 1 a.m. Saturday, officers were called to the area of Irish Mik's bar on Lockerman Street after receiving reports of shots fired. When officers arrived, they located a 29-year-old man in front of Citizens Bank suffering from gunshot wounds to both upper legs. Officers immediately rendered aid to the victim until emergency personnel arrived and transported him to Bay Health Kent campus, where he remains hospitalized. Officers located a trail of blood from the front sidewalk of Irish Mik's to where the victim was located in front of Citizens Bank. Now, video surveillance showed a large disorderly crowd on South Bradford Street, just north of West Lockerman Street. Police say that crowd dispersed quickly along with a smaller group of people that were in front of Irish Mik's. During the incident, the victim was spotted running away in the direction of Citizens Bank, where he was later found by police. Anyone with any information is urged to contact the Dover Police Department. Well, a 17-year-old Middletown teen has died and several more were injured in a serious crash near Lewes. According to Delaware State Police, the crash occurred around 2 p.m. Friday as a 2012 Honda CR-V was traveling eastbound on Lewes-Georgetown Highway, approaching the intersection at Ebb Tide Drive. At the same time, police say a 2009 Ram 1500 was also traveling westbound on the same road, crossing the intersection. A non-contact vehicle was stopped eastbound, waiting to turn onto Ebb Tide Drive, along with a second vehicle that was also slowing down to a stop behind that car. The driver of the Honda failed to see the stopped traffic ahead and, in an attempt to avoid a collision, swerved left into the westbound lane. The Ram also swerved towards the shoulder to avoid the Honda, but the front of both of those vehicles struck in a near head-on collision. After impact, the Honda overturned and struck a utility pole, while the Ram came to rest in the same area as the impact. There were 5 people inside the Honda at the time of the crash, including a 17-year-old Middletown teen who was transported to BB Hospital, where he later died as a result of his injuries. The driver of the Honda has not been confirmed, according to police. This remains an active and ongoing investigation. The road was closed for about 3 hours while the crash was investigated and later cleared. Well, the state treasurer's office is gearing up to distribute the rebate checks to Delaware taxpayers. Just last week, the governor signed into law a bill to provide all taxpayers with a $300 rebate to combat rising costs of inflation. State Treasurer Colleen Davis, who played a role in seeing that there was enough money to be able to afford the rebate, now leads the effort to get the checks in the mail. The state treasurer's office explored all options available and developed the most secure and efficient method of printing and distributing the checks as quickly as possible. The legislation that made this a reality was a bipartisan effort, as we hear from House Minority Leader Danny Short.
So we said, we really need to rethink this and maybe figure a way that we can get more dollars into the economy and into the hands of the taxpayers. So we had come up with an idea of $100 million for every individual, which was, taking the population close to, 1 million people, we're talking about $100 million. Pretty round numbers, but obviously huge numbers. And the difference being $11 million gas tax, $100 million, 10 times that amount infused back to the taxpayers, meaning husband, wife, and kids. Well, that became an issue of really how do you do that also? And the gas tax was negated because we had some bond issues that would decrease our rating. There was the instrument of being able to actually do that was tougher than what Maryland was talking about. And then with our $100 million, we said, well, let's wait till DFAC comes out. Maybe it could be more. And obviously it did come out. So we were thinking 200, 250. And coincidentally, the other side of the aisle, one day we were in the hall of, Representative Valerie Longhurst, my colleague. She's the leader of the Democratic caucus. I'm the leader of the Republican caucus. She says, Danny, can we talk in the office a minute about your idea of the refund and the rebate? I said, sure, let's do it. So we got in there. Timmy Dukes, Representative Dukes, was our whip when their whip was there, Larry Mitchell, and obviously the Speaker of the House. And they said, we're thinking we'd like to get together on this, do it jointly for the taxpayers, and why don't we make it 250? And I said, and along with Tim, we said, we were really thinking 300.
The payments will be distributed by the Department of Finance by the end of May and will apply to all who filed taxes in the year 2020. Coming up, seniors on Medicare can now order free COVID-19 home testing kits from pharmacies across the country. Details straight ahead. Keep it here. Well, if you're one of the many Delaware seniors on Medicare, you can now get up to 8 free COVID-19 home testing kits each month from participating pharmacies. The Delaware Department of Health made the announcement saying that Medicare will pay pharmacies directly for the tests and allow for those enrolled to pick them up at participating pharmacies. Now, pharmacies enrolled in the program include CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, Walmart, Giant Food, Costco, Kroger Family, and other regional and local chains. Everyone can still order free at-home testing kits per address delivered by the U.S. Postal Service at covidtests.gov. If you're on Medicare, check with your pharmacy to see if they participate in the monthly program. Well, it's looking like we could be in store for rain and windy conditions tonight as we get a preview of your pinpoint weather forecast with Hunter Alton.
We will continue to see the clouds and developing precipitation increase throughout much of the evening hours tonight. The rain will be heavy at times, the winds will be gusty as well, and we will be monitoring the threat for coastal flooding from our late season coastal storm. Now the good news is Tuesday is looking drier but much cooler, and another big warm-up is on the horizon. Now don't go anywhere because when we come back, I'll have your complete pinpoint forecast regarding our coastal storm tonight here on TV Delmarva Channel 14 News. All right, Delmarva, let's get right into the pinpoint forecast for the overnight hours into the day on Tuesday. We're closely monitoring a developing coastal low that will be moving into the areas a little bit later on this evening. And we are going to be looking at some periods of rain, and definitely that rain will be heavy at times, especially after the sun goes down, and a fairly chilly night too in store. 40 to 45 degrees, and the winds are going to be picking up as well. From the east, 20 to 30 miles per hour sustained with some gusts as high as 45 and maybe even 50 miles per hour right along the immediate Atlantic coast, with rainfall up to about an inch expected for pretty much everywhere here on the shore. Take a look at futurecasts rest of the evening hours into the day on Tuesday. This is 6 o'clock this afternoon. As you can see, we got widespread areas of light to moderate rainfall. The winds are beginning to increase out of the east, keeping temperatures in the upper 40s to about 50 degrees. Once we get into 10 o'clock, that coastal low is right on our doorsteps just off the coast of Pocomoke City. We're starting to see areas of moderate to even heavy rainfall, and temperatures will be increasing as we get a little bit of some onshore flow right in the immediate coastal locations here on Delmarva, but much cooler the further you get away from the coast into the lower 40s and even upper 30s in areas of Westminster. And this is where the strongest winds are going to occur, anywhere between about 8 p.m. and 2 o'clock in the morning. That's where we have the best chance of seeing those 45 to even 50 miles an hour wind gusts. And as well as we do have some coastal flooding concerns, the best chance of seeing that moderate coastal flooding, especially where that coastal flood warning is in effect for Sussex and Kent counties. But the good news is once we get to 2 o'clock in the morning, our low should be well off to our north and east. Our winds are going to be switching directions from the more north and west, and that's going to be cooling temperatures down into the low and mid 40s. But waking up tomorrow morning, although it's going to be a little bit on the breezy side still, but we are going to be seeing much more sunshine as well and cooler temperatures in the lower 40s. Going into the afternoon hours on Tuesday, not really expecting a fairly warm day overall. Temperatures are going to be struggling to get to about 50 degrees for the most part, and there still maybe be a leftover sprinkle here and there. But by the time we get into the evening hours, we're going to be looking at decreasing clouds, some cooler temperatures. The winds are still going to be here, and we're going to be looking at temperatures dropping into the lower 40s by sunset. Take a look at the forecasted precipitation across the region. Generally, up to about an inch of rain is expected out of this event. There might be some isolated locations that could see a little bit more, closer to that 1.5 inches, especially the more north and west you go here on the shore. Tuesday forecast overall, though, we are going to be looking at a mixture of clouds and sunshine. Don't be surprised, you might see a leftover sprinkle here and there, but a much cooler day in store as well. 47 to 54 degrees across the region. Still going to be breezy at times, but it's going to be from the west. 15 to 20 miles an hour sustained with some gusts as high as 30 at times. And now we're going to look at that allergy index for Tuesday. Still looking at some fairly high values. 9 out of 12, and still dealing with that tree pollen across the region in the form of maple, juniper, and poplar, to being your typical allergens for the month of April. Now we're going to switch gears and take a look at the marine conditions for Tuesday, beginning with the Atlantic. We got partly sunny skies, 53 degrees, some fairly strong winds from the west, 20 to 30 miles per hour, and we're going to be seeing some larger swell too, of 4 to 7 feet on the Atlantic. Looking at the Delaware Bay. Partly sunny skies, 55 degrees, winds from the west at 15 to 20 miles per hour with seas of 2 to 3 feet. And then in Chesapeake Bay, we got partly sunny skies, 55 degrees, winds from the west at 15 to 20 miles per hour with seas of around 2 to 3 feet as well. Now, going into the overnight hours tomorrow night, we will be decreasing those clouds, and we are going to be looking at some mostly clear skies overall, and a fairly cool night in store too. 36 to 40 degrees. Still going to be dealing with breezy conditions, unfortunately, from the west. 10 to 15 miles an hour sustained with some gusts as high as 25 at times. Now, how long is this cooler weather going to stick around? Well, the good news is, thanks to the latest outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, 6 to 10 day temperatures across the region well above average going into later portions of next week. All this area that you see in this orange color pretty much covering the eastern half of the nation, with the greatest chance actually near us, where we're going to be looking at temperatures getting back into the 70s once again. And I can actually show you on the extended outlook, because after tomorrow and Wednesday, those are the last cooler days that we're going to see temperatures below average. Once we get closer towards this weekend, we're going to see temperatures rising back up to the upper 60s and even 70s. And finally, some dry conditions overall, and then taking a sneak peek into Sunday and Monday, right in that 6 to 10 day time period. That's when our temperatures are going to be well above average, back into the upper 70s with partly sunny skies.
Coming up, the FDA is investigating Lucky Charms cereal after dozens of people reported that they were sick after eating it. More details on the way. Don't go away. The FDA said Saturday that it's investigating multiple reports that Lucky Charms cereal reportedly made dozens of people sick. Federal officials say they've received well over 100 complaints related to the cereal just this year. The complaints consist of nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting after eating the cereal. General Mills Incorporated, that's the company that makes Lucky Charms and other popular cereals such as Cheerios, is aware of the reports and is currently investigating. There's no official word at this time on what's causing the illnesses.
Weather Classroom is sponsored by No Nonsense Office Machines, committed to providing quality products and services with over 15 years of experience here in Sussex County. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today's weather lesson we will be learning about what are mesoscale convective vortexes, or MCV for short. Now, a mesoscale convective vortex is a low pressure center within an MCS that pulls winds into a circular pattern, or a vortex. With a core only about 30 to 60 miles wide and 1 to 3 miles deep, an MCV is often overlooked in standard weather analysis. But an MCV can take on life of its own, persisting for up to 12 hours after its parent MCS has dissipated, and this orphan MCV will sometimes then become the seeds of the next thunderstorm outbreak down the line. But when an MCV that can move into tropical waters such as the Gulf of Mexico, this can serve as the nucleus for a tropical storm or even a hurricane during hurricane season. It is thought that the development of an MCV begins as the squall line releases latent heat, and this latent heat is released, then warms the air underneath, and the density of that air decreases, causing the pressure at the surface to fall. As the pressure drops, a cyclonic circulation develops that is visible in both radar and satellite imagery, and MCVs usually develop when wind shear is fairly weak, or instability that is very strong, or in squall lines that are either maturing or decaying. Now, MCVs are relatively rare, averaging 3 to 4 per year across the United States and sometimes referred as land hurricanes, although MCVs and hurricanes share some of the same traits, but they develop by different mechanisms. While squall lines typically last for a few hours, an MCV can continue on in the order for several hours to even several days, providing forcing for development of thunderstorms throughout its lifetime, and these spinning features can be identified in satellite imagery long after the parent squall line has dissipated. Now until May 2nd, you have the chance to win one of these life-saving devices. Go to our website, tvdelmarva.com, and on the home page you will find a list of rules and contest details of how to enter for this giveaway. Fill out a short form, and 3 of you could have the chance to win one of these Midland WR120B NOAA weather radios from us here at TV Delmarva. We'd like to thank our sponsors Midland USA and Wall Service Center for this opportunity to help promote awareness of severe weather in our community.
Well, that about does it for us today, Delmarva. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at TV Delmarva and on our website, tvdelmarva.com, for real-time news and weather updates. And while you're there, be sure to sign our petition calling on the major cable providers to carry TV Delmarva on their platforms so we can provide this kind of local programming to all of Delmarva. Until next time, I'm Rob Petrie reporting for TV Delmarva, Channel 14 News.